Hello there, fans of the show. It's Arodas here. Well, what are we? We're up to episode 7 now. It's nice. It's nice to see we've survived that long. You know, we couldn't be doing it without our wonderful fans, our wonderful listeners. So I think it's time to pay you guys all back. There's no better way to pay someone back than to share music with them. Something that touches them emotionally. Wouldn't you agree? So, for this episode, this very special episode, I'm going to share just that with you. Here is some K-pop. Do enjoy the gift of Korean pop music. Cue the kick it.
Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, welcome to episode 7 of the TheLoreWhores Warcraft podcast. This is Arodas. I am your host for this evening, and I currently sound like I have cancer. No, I don't. I'm just very, very tired because I've been awake for a very, very long time. It's currently 6 o'clock in the morning here, and that's the end of my life story. On the show we have the usual suspects. We have Estella, we have Madgod, we have Krolin, otherwise known as Plague, and we have Icanis. Guys, say hello.
How's it going?
I do what I want.
I like cheesecake. No? No one else is like cheesecake?
Plague doesn't want to say
guys.
hi. Plague's just like, yeah, I'll let them say hi. I'll be silent in the back.
Silent ninja.
Yeah.
Okay, well that was a wonderful intro. Let's let's talk about what we're going to be talking about today in this episode of the TheLoreWhores. Today we're going to be discussing the Varian short story. We're keeping with the usual thread that we've been going through with covering all the short stories. So we've got the Varian short story to talk about. We're also going to touch on, and I say touch on because it's a very big topic, and we're only going to be covering a little bit of it, arcane magic. So you can look forward to those two things. And by the way, I hope you guys enjoyed the Korean pop music at the start of the episode this week. That was just for you. Okay, who's going to take us away on the Varian short story? Who wants that?
I guess I'll take that.
Varian went to the pet store and bought himself a little chihuahua.
It was obviously a Doberman Pinscher.
You know,
Oh god, no, I can totally see him walking down the street, walking on a little chihuahua or poodle or something.
On a chihuahua? Trying to get
Walking on a chihuahua. Like a little pug, and the pug's wearing like a Stormwind flag in like a hoodie, and he like the freaking little dog looks so pissed, and like he hates Varian, but he can't do anything because Varian's kings.
I think you guys have it wrong. I think Varian's sort of guided by a big dog because he's compensating for something. But Mad, do you want to take it away, my friend?
Why not? And this will completely butcher the story, but I don't give a shit. So Varian has a nightmare about his daddy being killed and all that good stuff. And then he wakes up, and then it's like this, what is it? It's like the Remembrance Day or something like that?
It's the Remembrance Day ceremony where they pretty much remember all the past wars.
Yep. So he has to write a speech, and like any good king, he is procrastinating. So eventually he's like, hey, what's up? He meets his son, and his son's like, hey, what's up? And they're like, yo, yeah. And
Are you sure you read this?
I read it.
That's straight dialogue from the story. It was like, yo, and then they hung out. The end.
The end. The end.
But,
I assure you things happen in between then. Carry on.
Yes. Well, there's a lot of stuff. Varian's kind of a bit melancholy about how he's treating his son and how depressing everything is. But eventually, they go to little Anduin's mom's grave, I believe, and then they get ambushed by Twilight cultists, and then they kick ass and chew bubblegum, and they win. And Varian is all bloodied and almost dead, and he gets to what is it, like the front of Stormwind, where everyone's at, like the Valley of Heroes?
the Valley of
That's
Heroes.
right.
Yep.
That's right.
And he delivers his speech, and Benedictus is there, and he's like, "Oh shit, he survived!" Because he's the Twilight Father, or Prophet, whatever. He's a Twilight dickhole guy, something.
Is that the official
point
title?
is- Yes, that is the official title. But he's like, "Oh shit, he survived. This is not good." But he plays it off like a champ, He still keeps his cover, and then Varian ad-libs his way to victory and awesomeness in the eyes of the populace.
One thing I will add to that story is that it is set just before the Twilight of Aspects book happened. So during the start of the story, Varian meets up with Benedictus, the otherwise known as the Twilight Father or Twilight Prophet, and he also meets up with one of the architects. I forget the name of the architect. He's one of the lead architects. Anyway, meets up with him, and they're talking about the damage that was done to the kingdom. As you guys have seen in the cinematic for Cataclysm, of course, Deathwing lands on the two towers at the start, at the front of the castle, I should say, and he does a whole lot of damage to the kingdom. Not to mention what he did to the park. But anyway.
And like in that literal trailer, the little statue fainted because Deathwing yelled at it.
That's right.
I don't know if anybody else has seen those, but it was really funny.
It's Trollvane's statue, and he knocked it over.
No, he didn't knock it over. He roared at it, and he was so scared that it fell over.
Oh no! Don't start picking on Dennis Trollvane. We needed him to come back.
I'm
and
not,
fix
like,
our
I
team.
need more
You were
Trollvane.
picking.
We're
on
picking
it.
on the statue, not
I'm sorry.
Trollbane
I'm
himself.
sorry.
His statue's a
if
pussy.
Deathwing was yelling at me, I'd probably faint too.
No, I remember seeing that when he came down and
Probably
landed on
after shitting my pants. Let me throw that in there. I would shit my pants and then faint.
Oh, I remember. I remember when I first rolled a human, which was my second character in WoW, and before I just played Night Elf, and I was running through the forest most of the time I was playing that. But when I rolled a human, and I go to Stormwind for the first time, they have that epic music and the big gates, and I was like, wow, that's really cool. And those statues, and the Valley of Heroes was like one of the first iconic things that I saw from the game. And then when Deathwing comes down and lands on it and just totally destroys the place, I was like, oh fuck no, he's not messing with Stormwind.
Well, that's the thing, like, he doesn't just hit those towers, he hits he hits a bit of the keep as well, and that's significant because whilst they're walking by and Varian's talking to these two guys, Benedictus and the architect, he stops by and has a look at some damage that's been done to the keep, and he feels around and he finds some, like a shard, or like a little bit that's broken off of Deathwing's armor, and that plays a role in the end. That's it. That plays
Wouldn't
the
that
role
mean
in the
that
end.
Deathwing has some pretty shitty armor? If he lands
I mean,
and a
literally,
bit of
like
it
all it
breaks?
does is it get late. It gets.
Well, it was made by goblins. No,
Well,
that
I'm
was
just
the
saying.
original stuff. No, the Twilight cultists made the second stuff. Well, they're not goblins. They're probably pretty
Can you imagine-
terrible blacksmiths.
If you actually
he's
look at his
also-
belly,
It's probably not very filed down very well, so there's probably flaking off all over the place.
Yeah.
if you actually look
Well,
at
that-
his belly, it
it's
says
just-
made
it's just-
in Taiwan.
Nice. But no, that armor is gigantic. If any of you guys have done Spine, which I'm pretty sure you have, I mean, that armor is gigantic. So if he smacks into something, there's probably going to be a little bit of damage, but it's not going to be anything that's really like that tiny shard. That's probably I always thought it was like the size of a sword from the short story.
Yeah.
That's probably nothing in comparison to the armor as
Well, and you'd also have to
Would it be
kind of
like-
contemplate the fact that
Chipping
like
your fingernail or something.
Exactly.
The best bit about that shard, though, is that it's described as being like the size of a short sword, and then he just tucks it into his belt and then walks around with it.
Yeah, like changes.
Like how big of
size.
a
dude,
belt pouch would he have to carry around a sword in it?
You just have to put it into like the belt. The pressure will keep it against his
I
body.
I don't think you guys understand. This is WoW. We have backpacks that are like interdimensions within themselves. I don't think that'll be an issue, Plague.
Remember back before Wrath of the Lich King, where we had to have our mounts in our inventories?
Oh God, yes.
Carrying around a goat
get
in
a
my
trip.
backpack.
If that wasn't in Wrath of the Lich King, Tundra Mammoth in your backpack. we would need needed to make the chiropractor profession.
Kroll's just walking along, and there's like a dead horse that's like sticking its head outside of the bag. It's like, get the hell back in now. You get back on that now.
Yeah, exactly.
One thing I want to ask you guys is, this is the way I feel about Varian. I feel as though he's a character that they're still trying to figure out what to do with him. They still want to... They don't want to make the Gorosh mistake, I guess I'd put it. They really sort of want to be careful with him. And this wasn't a story that was pretty much like, I read this and now I understand Varian. It was far from that. And I still felt the same way after reading Wolfheart. I've read it twice now. Like, you still get that sense that you don't quite know Varian. You know that something got fucked up. Yeah, like, you know that they want to go towards something, but they're sort of dancing around the topic, and I hope that comes out in Miss Pandaria.
I really want to see him turn into, like, that kick-ass warrior king. Like, I'm going to be completely honest, because in every other, like, realm, the kings are always these fat, lazy guys. And I get that it's more closely related to reality, that the king doesn't run around doing anything. But there's something more awesome about running around as, like, the King Arthur, or, like, the prince from Legend of Dragoon, if anybody's ever played that game. Like, the royal guy that's out there going and kicking ass like everybody else. Like, I feel like that Spartan era. I don't want to use Spartan. That seems really terrible. But
you're looking for the guy that basically has defined the warrior king for the past 100 years in literature. Is that the guy you're looking for, Conan?
Yeah.
Is that who you're looking for? You want him to be Conan? Well, he has the chin already.
Yeah,
so
I guess my point is,
he's not far off.
I really would like. I really
he was
like
a gladiator.
That,
like
yeah. I mean, I guess that's the thing. It's like I want to see him run around and be a king. Like, you know, kings were like. I mean, not all kings were in reality fat, lazy bastards. In the Middle Ages, there were some that they still, like Spartans. They had to go fight.
Well,
because otherwise, they wouldn't care. Like King Richard the Lionhearted, he was there.
For political reasons, kings actually couldn't keep sending their lords out to do all of their fighting, because if a lord, became a war hero and got too popular with the people, there was always a chance that he would overthrow him. So kings, to a certain extent, did have to go out and kick ass every once in a while just to prove they were top dog.
Exactly, and so I kind of like the idea of Varian running around and being a badass. So I guess that's the reason why I'm kind of okay with where he is personally. Like I get, like I actually kind of, I mean, this is me usually making inferences based on how I see things and being optimistic, but I actually think that he's kind of where he needs to be. He's like this dude that still has these ego trip issues, and granted, their way of curbing his ego by just using Anduin all the time as like the go-to like end of a story resolution, like, hey dad, maybe you shouldn't be such a dick. And then he's like, oh, okay son, you're the only person that can tell me that. Like, I guess I don't necessarily agree with him being the only source of humbling Varian, but I still really think Anduin's cool. But that's a side thought. Like, fucking Anduin's amazing.
I think
I have to agree.
I think they got the whole warrior thing down. I mean, we know that Varian can kick ass, and he can do it fucking 100 times over to most things, like anyone. They've got that down. He's a tough fighter. The thing that I'm looking for, the thing that I'm really trying to get cemented, is us understanding 100% what Varian's about, because there's certain things about Varian that just seem too enigmatic, and he's meant to be the leader that you're fighting for,
Well, okay, go ahead.
No, that was it. That was the spiel.
Okay. No, I kind of like that he's a little... I don't want him to spell out his entire personality or whatever. I like that he's a little bit enigmatic because, personality-wise, he's been through the ringer. I mean, he's been split in half.
Literally.
And that's
that is pretty extreme. I can agree to that.
That's gonna
I
fuck
thought that
you
was
up.
silly. I'm gonna leave that one alone. I'll leave that one alone for this.
No, because that'll fuck you up in the head, and you gotta imagine that maybe he's not even entirely sure what
I don't think he is. I think that
Who
there is
he
certainly
is.
a lot of uncertainty within him. And I think that's what really makes him... I actually really like him as a character, because I like that he has that warring of personalities inside of him, and I think that leads to a very interesting character, instead of, whatever. I'd be okay if, he became a guy who was able to actually achieve that balance of being a kick-ass warrior who takes shit and who doesn't take shit, who doesn't take no shit from nobody, and yet, a good father to his son, which sometimes he isn't as much, because he's sometimes a little bit crazy in the brain stem.
I sort of disagree. I'm sort of on the fence with, especially after reading this story, I'm really on the fence with Varian. I felt when they did his inner monologues, they did them really well, and they really extrapolated on who he is as a person. But on the other hand, there was points in it where, specifically the scene where they are I believe they're in the throne room meeting with the various delegates that have come in.
That's
And
it,
all
yeah.
the delegates are basically complaining about Varian.
That part.
And they're going on about the faults in Varian. And Varian shows up and says, "Shut up, don't make fun of me, you guys suck." And it really felt like an analogy of the writer speaking to us as fans. I really felt like that's what that scene was.
I like that. I like that. I didn't say that, but I say it now. I like that.
Wait,
Yeah,
wait,
I can see that.
hang on. I have to read
That
this now. What,
actually.
where's this at? Hang on. I don't
It's like in the
remember.
first couple of pages. Jana's
Yeah,
defending Varian.
Oh. Now, what did you say that he's like? How did you phrase it that he said that again, Plague? Because that actually was kind of interesting.
I don't even remember what I just said. I don't really listen to what I say.
Like,
I
shut
just
up!
say,
Like you said, shut up! You guys don't understand me. Is that what you said?
shut up,
'Cause
you guys. You guys don't understand me.
Or something like that.
He flips his hair from his brow. Okay.
Yeah, yeah. He has a hissy fit.
Using his chin.
Yeah, he flips his chin. Is actually what happens. He shows up, flips his shit at them, and then they go, "Oh, sorry, you make the rules," and then leave. And it really felt like an analogy of, basically, us as readers and as players criticizing Varian, and him telling us, "Shut up, he's really cool. You just don't get it."
Yeah.
Well, that's
I
really
guess-
interesting.
I guess the way I'd put it is,
It's kind of the thing that I say all the time, though, and every time I say that, you guys are like, "No, Sylvanas is still really dumb." So
I like Sylvanas.
I'm
You
making
guys,
it.
no, you guys are like total. All of you guys, I noticed, are like total Sylvanas like fanboys, because it seems like every single podcast we circle back and mention her at some point. And you guys bring it up.
Okay, no, I was
Sylvanas
just
is
using
hot.
Sylvanas as the
Well,
ready
she fights in
example.
battle panties. I mean, how
But
can
I
you
also-
not talk
Battle
about that?
thong, mister.
I was actually going to go into some of the other characters we mentioned before that you guys are half and half about too, like Durante and stuff. So Sylvanas was just a ready example, and I just got cut off.
Oh yeah, sure.
Well, we can check that off of the to-do
But,
list.
We got that down for today.
Yeah.
Continuing back to what we were talking about with the Varian story, I felt that was a really poorly veiled jab at me as a reader, and I did not like that at all.
I didn't read it like that, to be quite honest. I just thought it was like, I'm gonna just skimmed over that. I'd have to
But,
read that.
That really wasn't my only issue with that. I also felt that the writer had a huge, not really huge, I shouldn't say huge, had a bit of an issue writing the combat scene in this short story. Literally, the fight boiled down to there was some sword work. Anduin shot some arrows. They don't really go into description of Anduin firing the arrows or the sword work. The only thing they really go into detail with are the point at which what's his name? Varian does a heroic leap, and it is described as he does a heroic leap.
Going back to last week's podcast about combat role playing, that's a no-no.
Yeah, and they do the same thing when Anduin casts Power Word Shield. He goes out and he says, and he casts the Power Word Shield
Like
in
a
quotation.
Power Ranger.
And I was like,
Yeah,
come on. These guys
then
got
man crick cat Falcon Punch.
yeah, I didn't like
Yeah.
that. I did not like that. I'll have to admit, the combat scene was a little bit. I liked the story of the combat scene. I just didn't like how the sentence level ability.
Yeah, I'm on the fence on the combat scene as a whole, mostly because of the resolution for it. I get that they wanted to go that it was a very a very Warcraft WoW type combat fight, where you have to dispel the creature before you can kill it. Like, I get that. It was that was how that encounter was supposed to work, and I thought that was what they were going for. I don't think it really worked as a narrative, comparing it too much to the game, but that's not the big issue with it. The big issue was that at the end of it, it seems like Varian dies, and
Yeah,
I was
It
like,
was
they sort of dance around the idea of maybe he just got resurrected, or maybe he just got healed and everything was better. They don't actually openly say which happens. I think the story would have been a whole lot more powerful. They couldn't have done this, obviously, if that would have been Varian's death scene.
yeah.
That would have been a wonderful story. Like, he's just dead.
Let
at the
they
end
kill
of it.
Varian and put.
Yeah, it'd have been a powerful death scene, and
Completely
at that point,
left field. Like, you're reading this story, oh yeah, Varian's cool, and then he just dies, and it's like, oh yeah, we're taking Varian out of the game, fuck you.
Yeah.
it
Yeah, I
would've
had to say.
it would have been a really powerful scene, in my opinion, if he'd have died, and we'd have gotten Anduin as king, and it would have been Anduin being thrust into the role. of
Anduin.
leadership.
I want Anduin king. Anduin's kick ass, and don't anyone talk trash about Anduin. Anduin's awesome.
I do
don't
like
want him as
Anduin,
king.
honestly.
I don't want him as king. I don't, like...
Shut up now, Rodus. Shut up. You shut up.
As you've
Anduin's
been
awesome.
saying, right, even though I want Varian, trying to articulate what I was trying to say before was, I want him to be a little more 3D. Even though I want him to be a little more 3D, I still don't want Varian the priest king in charge of the Alliance. I don't think a priest king is what...
Anduin?
You mean Anduin?
Yeah, Anduin. I
Yeah,
mean,
they already have
he's in training to be a
Tyrande,
priest.
who's more priesty than warrior.
Exactly. And we've seen what's happened to Tyrande. Like, we need...
They doesn't do shit though. Like, so
I
we
know.
can't really
Exactly.
say
That's
What the
the thing.
hell?
it's not an
Well, I
issue of
guess
her being
my
a priest.
thing
It's
that
an issue of her being spineless.
The thing that I don't kind of like is that they consider Stormwind's monarch like the leader in general of the alliance, like an overall lord. Like, I think that's kind of the thing that frustrates me, is that it's not like an alliance; it's more like an empire at this point. You've
Yeah.
got one central ruler with in charge of all these other substates, and I don't quite like that. Like, I guess that's kind of my political take, or not political, my government take on it. But like, you have the Horde, which is led by one. It's
Yeah,
like
you
a
see the-
confederacy led by an
You
overall
can
leader.
disagree
Yeah.
on the Horde, but everybody
Yeah.
just kind of like, okay, Baron, do what you want.
Yeah,
I
like
think
you don't
that
have.
might just be because Varian really seems to be the big guy who really has the drive to be that political leader. Like, all of the other ones are just kind of like, whatever.
Yeah, that's the thing is, like they show in the scene where he basically screams at all the delegates to shut up and listen to him. He has the force of will to command people to shut up and listen to him. And I kind of get the feeling that's what he does in the gathering of all the leaders, is just through force of personality and force
But
of will.
you
he
never
gets
see him
everyone to
interacting.
shut up and listen.
Where do you see, like, I'll speak like in game. Where do you see in game anywhere the alliance leaders interacting?
You don't. You never do.
Yeah,
Well, no, you
like-
saw it. You saw it for a very short amount of time before Cataclysm happened. You had all the main leaders in Stormwind Keep in front of Varian, and they were discussing certain things. And that's when Magni's like, "Oh yeah, my brother just brought these tablets back from Northern. We're gonna see if we can figure some shit out." And that's when.
Well, yeah, I could see why the dwarves are, deferring to them, because they're in their
Well, I
political
mean-
Oh,
state
yeah.
is kind of fucked
Well, I
up
was
right now.
gonna
But
All
I
the
would say it
leaders.
was more that the dwarves and humans are so well integrated. Like that's kind of the thing that it is to me is that humans, dwarves, and gnomes are all incredibly integrated together into a relatively homogenous society at
Yeah,
this point.
but-
Because humans and dwarves have been bros for like I don't
Ever.
know, going
Long
on
time.
60 years. I don't know. Yeah, it's gonna
Yeah,
go
but-
like a really
Yeah.
long time.
Basically
It-
back to Arth, the kingdom
Yeah.
of Arthur, if I remember properly.
no.
But go on. Sorry,
But-
Jenny.
No, but yeah, you see those guys are kind of clumped together. But then they have like the satellite members of the alliance, which they brought Greymane, and he's basically Varian's arm candy right now, just standing around and so we keep not doing anything.
Arm candy.
But-
That's adorable.
Oh.
But then they have Tyrande and Valen just sitting there, not doing anything. There's no mention, no correlation between the two. They're just chilling over in Kalimdor, and there's no real interaction between the two that you see, except for that. Yeah, the lead up to Cataclysm, but still.
Yeah, there really just does not seem to be a lot of drive from the other faction leaders for some reason or another to really be.
I think they're trying to keep the spotlight on Baron, so they're
Yeah.
ignoring the others, basically.
I think that's pretty true.
I think it'd be really cool to see like an A team of like the faction leaders running around beating kick-ass together. Like you know what I'm saying? Like in the it'll be like a cinematic, right? And they'll be like playing poker or something, like something really trivial. And Tyrande has no idea what's going on. So Velen like Velen's cheating and everything. Everybody's having fun playing this poker game. But then they go around and they start kicking ass, and then it's like this super squad, like this like fucking
Okay, we
freaking.
gotta make a machinima of this. We
Oh
have
yeah,
to.
no, like they're all superheroes. You know what I mean? They're like the Justice League of the Alliance heroes,
I
and then
prefer
they
the
go back
A-Team.
And then,
well, whatever.
meanwhile,
You could almost call them the Azerothian Super Friends.
except they don't have Illidan, who's talking to a skull and a semi-retarded Kael'thas.
The Super Friends.
Arthas is the leader of the Legion of Doom.
And then the Legion of Doom's like an Ogrimmar or something, and Garrosh is just there in like a big black cape, and
But in all honesty, it would be really cool to see, like you never really get to see dialogue of like all the faction leaders like planning shit out. Like the only time until like the Cataclysm thing that I guess you get to see all of the faction leaders in one place like convening about stuff is like the last time I can think of it is like the image, the artwork in the Warcraft 2 manual of like the different human kings and then Anastarian and the dwarf guy showing up, or whoever the dwarf king was at the time.
I think it's
All
Magni.
kind of, is it? I don't know.
They live a long time. I think he's been
Well,
around
anyway,
for quite a while.
The general point is that like you never like that's the last time I've seen like a big like council meeting of like all these different leaders to talk about some serious.
I agree. That
It's
should
totally
really
all
be more.
winging it on their own. This is the way it seems. It's like all right, well, I'll just wing it and handle it rather than coordinate and be
Yeah, and
together.
I would
And
definitely-
even on the Horde, you have quests where you carry missives between the faction leaders and stuff like that. There's nothing, as far as I know. Tyrande and Rin probably aren't on speaking terms for all we know.
Well,
'Cause
in,
you don't
in
see it.
Wolfheart, we can tell that they're all pretty friendly. And Wolfheart
Well, I
would
know,
be
but
like
I'm saying.
But like
Yeah.
in game, yeah.
Yeah.
It's
there's
nothing.
no interaction, and I think that I hope that they change that in Miss Pandaria, because I really like that idea of leaders of a group communicating, because that's how you win victory and such, like
Well, yeah, they have
Yeah.
they have a Draenei ambassador in the Temple of the Moon, but there's a human mage trainer, but no actual ambassador.
right.
And that's like those two apparently are communicating, but they're like, fuck Eastern Kingdoms.
Yeah, there's kind of a disconnect, and I wish that was different in game,
But
and
that's the
as well as
thing.
even in the books, because like a little bit more. I'd like to see a lot more of that.
That's the thing, like this expansion, like this coming expansion, this is what I believe the game needs. It really needs to focus on the Alliance and the Horde, the models, and this is what we're gonna get. We're gonna hopefully get these relationships solidified, like the Horde and the Alliance, these identities forged, and we'll know where we stand no matter what race we're in,
Yeah,
and then we can move forward. That's what I'm hoping
I
for.
think that Yeah, I mean, I think that was kind of the thing that Blizzard's been trying to push on us is that like you guys are like I mean they're referring to by you guys I'm saying referring to all of us as players that like you guys are focusing too much on the Pandaria aspect and not the full scale war between Horde and Alliance aspect, and the fact that the Horde is pretty much falling apart from the looks of it on the onset. But yeah, I'm there with you, Otis. I hope that it really fleshes out where everybody stands, so that we're not left in the dark.
I completely agree. What are we gonna rate this one, guys? Do we think it's one of the better ones, or what are our thoughts? Where does it sit? Wrapping this up.
I think it's better. I would say 7.
It's better than Tyrande.
Oh god, yes.
I felt it was a whole lot better than the Tyrande story. I felt it was also better than the Sylvanas story.
I think I like the Sylvanas one a little bit better, but I did.
Yeah.
There are some parts of the Varian story that I liked more than the Tyrande one, mainly just because I like to see a dad, do good by his son. Because it tears at my heartstrings.
What's our numbers?
7.5, maybe?
I would say I would give it an 8, but let's call it a 7 because of the power word.
We're going to be sticking to combat roleplay?
I'd give it an 8.
Varian gives it Falco Punch.
What? What?
No, I was just
Okay,
making another joke about spell names.
I think we're sitting around a 7.5. I'd give it about a 7.5. It seems that you guys are sitting around 8, around 7, 6-ish. I think 7.5. Does that sound right? Does that sound like our collective score?
I'll give it a 3 to throw the ball curve.
Bastard.
Yeah, 7.5. That's
7.5 it is. 7.5 it is.
Sounds
I
good.
definitely.
Is anybody even recording this, or why are we
You're recording
numbering
this.
them? No, I mean like
Oh.
keeping track of.
Just to give,
we'll have
our
a flow
beautiful...
chart.
Oh, well, I've been keeping track of them, and the Kel'Thuzad one is at 10. It's going to stay in first place.
So at 10. Oh,
It's going to
'cause
stay
it's
at
got a
first
cool
place
name.
forever, just because I don't care about you guys, but Kel'Thuzad's the man.
yeah. That shit is awesome.
Actually, yeah, the Kel'Thuzad story was really good.
Yeah, I really love that. We should
We're
totally
doing the
talk about
Kel'Thuzad
that.
story sometime, Otis.
We should
because
share it.
We should.
Sure.
We
I
should.
want to fanboy about my true character that I fanboy about.
The Scourge.
I
Oh,
kinda
dude, no, it's Kel'Thuzad, Archimond, and Deathwing. Those are the characters that I fanboy over.
I have
all
to-
villains.
I just love the Scourge. I mean,
Fucking
they were...
Archimond, man. I don't think you understand. Archimond is beast.
Archimon is beast, but I really, 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 really loved the Scourge. Like that was my shit. When I played Warcraft 3, I only played the Scourge. Fuck the Horde, fuck the Night Elves.
And you did the
Fuck the
Ghoul
humans.
Necro strategy, didn't you?
Skelly
Well, Necro?
Rush.
No,
Oh.
I did Can Opener, man. Necromancers and Necromancers.
All right.
the-
Yeah, Necromancers and Meat Wagons, right?
Yep, Skeleton Rush.
Yep.
Go, go, go.
It was so beautiful.
Yeah, that's why I like you as a
Zombies
person.
everywhere.
That's why I
Oh
like
my
you as a
God.
person.
God. Well, we're definitely going to be covering those campaigns in the upcoming video series. We're doing the Let's Play series on all the Warcraft games. But,
If somebody shows up to the recording.
I will. Next time.
What the hell?
He went through the tunnel.
There's a brief tornado traveling through his room.
Yeah,
Don't pay much mind to it.
But let's move into our next topic. Let's getting back to being official. Put on my radio voice. Let's get back to talking about magic. Our second topic. Guys, who wants to kick that off? What's happening there?
One thing I'm curious about, and that this is kind of like the origin of arcane magic, because obviously the arcane isn't, limited to Azeroth, because the Draenei practice it on Argus back when they were still Eredar.
I might be able to give a theory as to where arcane magic comes from.
Well, the thing is,
Yeah.
we know where it comes from. It comes
Oh,
from
do we
the
do we
Twisting
know?
Nether. Oh yeah, we know for sure. All magic comes from the Twisting Nether, and I guess I should really start from the Twisting Nether. The Twisting Nether is essentially, you've got two planes of existence, two main planes of existence in the Warcraft universe. You've got the Great Dark Beyond, where all the planets sit, including Azeroth.
That's space.
Space.
Let's just call it space. Could we call it space? Because that's space.
Okay.
I think we should call it space.
Space is the great dark beyond. Okay, so it's space.
Mhm.
You have space. You also have the twisting nether, which is pretty much a dimension that is like it's hard to explain this. It's like the twisting nether and space occupy the same space, but they're different. Okay, so it's a different dimension, I guess is the best way to put it. And that's where all magic comes from. That's where the demons live.
Crazy shit, man.
That's where the crazy shit happens, and that's where Draenor is. Because once all the orcs, decided to tear apart that planet, Draenor, it became Outland, and Outland is the remnants of that planet, and that sits within the Twisting Nether. You're actually in the Twisting Nether when you
which is why you
jump
see
to Outland.
Which
all
explains
of those-
Netherstrong.
The shit in
Well,
the sky,
and-
Nagrand as
Yeah,
well.
exactly. And Hellfire and all the like giant beams and everything that are going through the sky and all the planets and everything, and the fact that
Floating
there are
rocks, all of it.
stars that are far closer to you than there should be.
Exactly.
But I won't get into astrophysics about this. So anyway,
But
Listen,
yeah,
it's the
that's-
twisting nether. It doesn't have to follow the rules of physics.
listen. No, it's physics. Anyway,
But that's where
I don't- like,
The floating
all magic
rocks,
comes
my
from.
friend. Floating
it
rocks.
seems like now that like beyond the origin, I guess the thing that I have a question about is like if you translate that, because the way that it always seems to be presented is that now you have these huge concentrations on, say for instance, Azeroth of the Well of Eternity and the Nexus. That are huge concentrations, and I guess the way that it's always been described to me is that like arcane magic is like radiation in the air, like it's some sort of particle, and I'm using scientific terms here because this is the only way I can really relate this information, is that they're little particles floating around in the air of magical energy, and I say that because of the way that they describe Crystal Song Forest. How it became the way it was. I don't know if anybody really knows the story,
Blue Dragons.
but yeah, it was a
Yeah.
big battle between the Scourge and the Blue Dragons. A whole bunch of Blue Dragons died, and when they died, they
Was it the
emitted
Scourge?
magic all around the air. Yes, it was the Scourge. And then like enough of them had died that one of the consort dragons, I guess, one of the worms, one of the older dragons, kind of cast a spell and turned all of that magic into crystallized. All that lingering magic just crystallized, and I guess killed everything because it had all been turned to magic crystals. So I guess to me it seems like magic is like a residue, like a particle, like I said, some sort of like radiation through the air that when people use it, their body is in some way some sort of conduit. And it's absorbing that radiation from the world around them and focusing it. And
Yeah,
See, the way-
That's perfect.
That's after the Well of Eternity exploded. Yeah, the
Right.
magic permeates the world. But before then, as you can read in the War of the Ancients, the Night Elves had to connect themselves to the well.
Yeah. The thing is, the Nexus. I mean, because there's more than just one point. I mean, there's obviously the places with the ley line system had to have existed before the Well of Eternity.
Well, you see, what I was thinking. This is just, I have no proof to back this up. But how I was thinking it would be is that how you said, the twisting nether, they're like different dimensions, kind of like overlaying each other. But maybe at certain spots, like the Well of Eternity or where the ley lines are, the barrier, whatever you'd call it, is thinner, and it allows for access to the arcane on the other side in the twisting nether. And maybe the Well of Eternity was like the main opening into that, and when it imploded, it like cracked the barrier or something like that, and that's where most of the ley
Creating
lines.
The ley lines. Yeah.
Yeah.
I guess that makes
Or
sense.
it could
Just
be, it could also be that the ley lines, the Well of Eternity was this giant lake, right? Well, maybe the ley lines were rivers coming out of it.
Yeah, I guess. I mean, like, I get what you're saying. So you're saying that the twisting nether and the twisting nether is the raw arcane energy, and that like places like the Well of Eternity and the portals and the ley lines are places where that dimensional rift is weak and allows for more extraction of more arcane energy, which would make sense if you go with the idea that the Well of Eternity was literally going to be the portal through which Sargeras was supposed to come in. So
Well, that
I
was.
can see, yeah. So that's what I'm saying. Like, if it literally served as a portal, then that kind of leads credence to this is like raw, esoteric, planar fusion. I'm trying to go with Fringe here because I've watched Fringe, and that's
I think
like
Uh-huh.
I
think
mean,
the
I
best
guess I'm
way-
seeing it in that same sense. Go
The
ahead.
best way to put it is, the way I understand it is the way you should, the way I think people should understand it is it's like gravity. And one of the leading theories for gravity is that we don't really know where gravity comes from, but we do know that it exists. And most people think it leaks into the universe via quantum physics, like it comes through at a small scale. But that's just a theory. But that's
Well,
the way
that
I
and
like
it
to think of
completely
it.
permeates everything in the universe. So
Yeah, but I mean they say like
Right.
it leaks through quantum physics. But that's the way I understand it. That's the way I like to think of it though, right? So you've got the twisting nether, and that leaks through into the great dark beyond, or space. Now the best way to explain magic in the Warcraft universe, or arcane magic at least, is there's really 3 tiers of arcane magic. There's natural magic, the magic that you see beneath these planets, so beneath Azeroth, the nexuses. So there's a big one underneath Karazhan, where all these different ley lines intersect. There's one beneath Quodanas, which fuels part of the Sunwell. That's the natural arcane magic. The next thing you seem to have is what's up in the air. That came from the explosion of the Well of Eternity, which we mentioned before, and that's what most mages draw from. So they pluck that from the atmosphere. There's like sort of particles that are still left over. And the third tier is of course fel magic, and it progresses into the most corruptive, being fel magic. That's another thing I would point out as well. Like, all magic, to our understanding, is corruptive to some level. There are different degrees of corruptiveness. I think that's a word. I'm gonna
Corruption.
use it anyway. Corruption. That's it. There's different.
Well, I don't think
degrees.
light magic is necessarily
Different branch of
Arcane
magic.
corruptive.
based. I think it's really
Different
arcane
branch of
based.
magic.
Okay.
Yeah.
There seems to be 3 types of magic generally. There's divine magic, there's natural magic, which are sort of like a separate thing. We're talking about like arcane magic, so
Oh, okay. Well, you just said magic, and I was like, well, wait a second. But go ahead.
that's because
I'm
it's
sorry
like
for interrupting.
no, that's okay. That's okay. Yeah. So I just finished rambling. Go.
well,
I lost
what's
my train of
interesting-
thought. Like,
What's interesting is that fel magic, I believe, is actually concentrated pure arcane magic, which is the stuff that's found in the Well of Eternity and ambiently in the air after said well's explosion. So,
that it was always put to me was that it was somehow corrupted by demon's blood. Like, it was arcane magic
But
plus demon blood. And
well, that's I think that's a way to say it, but I think I did read that it was actually just concentrated arcane magic, and then the corruptive nature of it was just amplified, and that's why you have the evilness of
I'd
it.
have to double check on that, but I mean, like I said,
Yeah,
it's.
no.
I mean, because like I guess that was one of the hangups that I always had is like, okay, if it's corrupted by demon blood, but demons had to be corrupted by fel in the first place, so who came first, the chicken or the egg? So it's it was definitely
Well, I'll look it up. Hold on, I'm gonna go. to-
investigate that because that was definitely weird for me. Was that, like, it requires fel demon blood, but
Well, we know that most demons are corrupted by fel magic, but we also know that there was a naturally occurring race of demons in the Nathrezim.
Mhm.
yeah, but I mean that's
Oh.
the thing is like they. So is it that there's something messed up about Nathrezim, and by them existing, they're corrupting arcane magic, like that fel magic is not natural, that Nathrezim for some reason are the source of all the twisted changes magic.
Or were
I mean,
the Nathrezim like the Eridar? They were a normal race, and then the Burning Legion just kind of came and absorbed them, and then they became demons.
but see,
current
that's the
current
thing.
canon puts them as the originators of all of
Exactly.
this. Like, apparently the current canon says that they twisted Sargeras's mind, and from
The
there
Nathrezim
they
or
were
the Eridar?
The Nathrezim.
the Nathrezim,
No,
and then
no.
from there Sargeras went on to conquer the Eridar, corrupted
Yeah.
them, conquered Manaroth's race, and then from there they just started recruiting different, races and conquering them one at a time.
Well, what do we know about the world that the Nothrazim came from?
Not a lot.
We don't know how
Shit.
their
Shit.
plane. We don't know how their world interacts with magic. So we don't know how their environment affected how they were developed. Like, maybe they're just on a hellish pit world, and magic interacts differently there. It's inherently more
Zoroth.
corruptive.
Well, that's an interesting thing, and I hope that if we ever get a Burning Legion expansion, which we probably will, we see
Better.
yeah, right. But we see some more information on Zoroth, because I played a Warlock back in Classic and all that stuff when I had to go through that quest to get my Zorothian Dreadsteed. And I was like, this is interesting. But there was never really too much about that world, save that I can get a fucking awesome fiery horse from it.
Yeah, that's always been a question of mine, is what are these other worlds like? What are they like? Because the Warcraft universe is massive, and we've only gotten a glimpse of a tiny part of it.
That's what I want the update to Outland to be. I want Outland to essentially be a hub. And so what happens is you go through the portal, and they've opened up all these little mini portals, and the new zones are actually parts of Legion-controlled planets that you have to go to. I would love that. So say you go
That would
to
actually be very
Zangramarsh.
cool.
Well, yeah, there's like a portal in Zangramarsh, there's a portal in Nagrand as well. Those are opened up, and you go to different planets. Of course, you can't do the whole planet, but just like a section, a zone would be like an important part of the planet. So yeah, like I would like to see that, and maybe the final portal that you go to, the final, which represents the final zone, would be a place on Argus, and that's where you fight Sargeras, etc., etc.
Okay, so I'm looking at this here, and it says the Arcane, aka Arcane Magic, is a general term for the various domains of magic and Warcraft lore. According to lore, many of the types of magic found in schools. True Arcane domain per se. Alright, well, let's look at Fel then. The ultimate manifestation of demonic arcane on Azeroth is Fel magic. This energy, which most commonly manifests itself as ghastly green-yellow flame, is arcane magic as its most corrupt, for it employs the blood of demons. Spells with the Fel descriptor are very difficult to resist. Casting a Fel spell is described by many spellcasters as a euphoric experience. If arcane magic is an addiction, Fel magic is the embodiment of the drug in its purest form.
Yeah, I mean, that's the thing. Like,
Which-
it's using that metaphorically speaking, but it's said that it incorporates demon's blood. So that returns me back to my question of, if they have to use Fel magic to corrupt other demons, which one came first, the chicken or the egg?
I would say that
I would say the Nazarene then. In that instance, the Nazarene somehow
There's
fucked up
something-
magic,
yeah,
and
that
it's
there's
like
something-
leaking into the Nether, maybe.
No.
I still subscribe to what I said, and that Fel magic is concentrated arcane magic simply because of the addiction metaphor.
But I guess my question to that is,
And
at
it could
that
also
point-
describe the reason why it requires demon blood, because demons are essentially concentrated Fel magic in an organic form. So demon blood is Fel magic, which allows people who are not necessarily as imbued with that level of energy to be able to cast spells of that variety.
But
Well,
I
they
guess-
are and they aren't.
But I
Because
guess
we
the thing
understand
is-
that they are organic. They're not pure energy like magic is.
No, it's
Oh.
true, but it certainly permeates their bodies.
I
And-
think the thing though is that, like, I the reason why I wouldn't say that it's the most concentrated form, because like everything that we've been able to determine that was a concentrated form of arcane energy in its raw, most powerful state are all the different wells. You know, the Well of Eternity and the new Well of Eternity and the Sun Well, and things like Malagos that are completely comprised of freaking magic. They're all purpley arcane magic. They're not green. Like, I mean, Well of Eternity is a different story because the Well of Eternity had been, fucked with and screwed up, and
That was green for a reason.
Yeah, I mean, that
it
was
wasn't
green
always
for.
green.
Yeah, it wasn't always green. It was just dark. I think that was the way it was originally described in the stories. Was that it was just very dark, like looking at the deepest part of an ocean, more or less.
Yeah.
Which is weird, but okay. But yeah, so I guess that's the thing. It's like I know where you're coming from with that, but I have a hard time adhering to that simply because none of the other examples ever say that. It's just that fell magic is the evil. I'm trying to find another example. I mean, like, I guess it feels like it. Well, no, because I can't use Warhammer because that's just all the warp and that's just all fucked up. I don't have another good example of magic.
problem-
Well, okay.
Based
What I was thinking was, okay, the arcane magic is addictive. All right, we know that because the elves or whatever. And what they're saying is that the fell magic is even more so than arcane magic. So basically what I see that as is fell is like adding nicotine to a cigarette. It just makes you want it more. It's like adding something to something that was already pure that makes it. What are you doing with the clicking?
Oh, sorry, I'm doing some things.
Sorry, go ahead. I'm just easily distracted. That was it.
No, it's certainly not a great and perfect idea, but I think it does explain some parts of it. And I think that Estelle has a good point about how it might just be something added to it, potentially. Or, like, arcane magic can certainly be concentrated, but maybe the Well and Malyghost were never at that point of critical mass. The Well certainly did when it was starting to be used as a portal, and that might be why it became that dark green in the instance. Maybe because it just reached that critical mass.
I think there's something that is added to
Demon
the
blood.
arcane energy.
It
yeah.
says demon
bro,
blood is
demon blood.
added.
Well, now,
But
though,
but there has to be
Originally.
something inside the demon blood itself that causes that effect. Like,
Yeah.
what is it about demon blood that makes it, so corruptive? What is it? They say it's fell energy. But, to find fell magic, you take magical energy and then mix it with demon blood to make,
But what
So
makes the
what
demon
makes
blood
the
messed
demon-
up? Yeah,
like,
exactly.
The way
it's
I
a
see
certain hole in the
from
lore.
Yeah, well, there's a lot of.
Wouldn't necessarily
Well,
say
yeah.
it's a hole, just
Yeah,
that
it
it's
just
a
needs to be
weird.
explained.
self-feeding.
Yeah, it's something that needs to have its origins
I'd call that a hole.
put to us. I mean, no, I mean that's a hole implies that it was
It
that it
doesn't-
was.
Call it a
Yeah,
gap.
that there was an oversight. Yeah, let's
Uh.
call it a gap because a hole implies that they screwed it up. I mean, at least in everybody else's context of a plot hole is that it's always something that was skipped over and passed over and nobody bothered to explain it. I feel like at this point it's
Is that
just
what-
something. No, I mean like in the sense that like the plot hole of House the freaking Matrix, and I'll go into this some other time. But there are it's an oversight that is ruining everything. Never mind. I don't know where I'm going with this.
It's an
but the
oversight
point
on
is,
the plot of the. It's an oversight on the part of the narrative that inherently breaks the narrative itself.
exactly. This isn't a break
This is
in the
just
narrative.
something that hasn't been explained yet.
Yeah.
And
I don't know. I'd still call that a hole, but that's just my usage. It's not necessarily like a hole. For a hole, for me, it's just something that's unexplained in terms of this context. But
Listen, if you want a real plot hole, think about how Cypher got into the Matrix with nobody knowing that he got in there and that nobody knew about his eventual betrayal. So why don't you think about
Cypher.
that? And that's a real plot hole for you.
Decipher.
You never seen the Matrix? The bald guy, the one that shoots
No.
everybody.
Haven't seen it. Which one?
That was the sound of my exploding brain. No, okay. Never mind. I'm not going to go to the Matrix on a Warcraft podcast, but just know that it's a plot hole.
that's a good choice.
Because it would just make me mad.
fair enough.
So yeah, There's at the end of the day, there's like 3 different types of arcane magic. It seems like there's 3 different types. There's of course, as we've covered, the magic that most mages use, which is like, I like to say, residue that's in the atmosphere that they seem to take from the Well of Eternity. There's the natural magic that's beneath the planet, like the ley lines, and you've got fell magic. They're basically your 3 types of magic.
Those are the types of arcane magic.
That was a very, very brief talk about arcane magic. I think we did okay, guys. I think we did. No, I'll say we did okay.
Well,
we did
relatively speaking, yeah, I'd say.
About the
Relatively
origin,
speaking.
but I mean, there's
That's,
still a lot more.
Subject to tackle.
You know what the beauty of that is? If we didn't do too well, there's always next week, because we're gonna make it part 2. We're gonna go this time not so much into like the basics of arcane magic, but more into the applications of it, like who uses arcane magic,
And how.
Yeah, how is it used? Like, what's better, Silvermoon's mages or the Kirin Tor's mages? Like, we'll cover shit like that. Like, how do different races use the magic? All that shit's gonna be covered.
That
next
will
week
be a
as
can
well.
of worms.
Like another
right
thing
there.
I'd really like to talk
Oh,
about
yeah.
is like the difference between like the assumption of just finger wiggling and actual like incantations and stuff too that you can actually apply.
Yeah.
How some of these silencing spells and stuff
Like
that.
in The Last Guardian, for example.
Yeah.
Like a lot of the magic that Khadgar did was really ritualistic. It wasn't just on-the-fly finger wiggling. Although there was a fireball spell, I believe he did.
Well, no, I'm just
with
talking
Empress.
about like in the sense of like like the way it is in D&D, where you actually have to finish an incantation, do the right motions, and then the spell works, maybe. So anyway,
Right, no.
What would be really cool is if we got any feedback from any of the listeners on like what they want to hear about arcane magic, because like I said, it is a broad subject, and I think it's a very good chance that we might miss something that somebody
that's a
wants
really
to
good
hear
point.
about.
Yeah, actually.
Agreed.
So
We like
always
hearing
want-
from our listeners. It's fun.
Yeah.
Something
Send
that
us
we
an
all
email,
want.
guys. We,
So send us
at
an
the
email.
usual place, TheLoreWhores@gmail.com, and we'll take a look at it, what everyone thinks, and we'll definitely get back to that. And what do you
And
think?
If
Should
you
we?
like us. If you like
Yes.
us, subscribe as well. That's cool. And we've got Twitter as well. TheLoreWhores at twitter.com, I think it is. I just made that up. But I'm sure it's right. You know what? Check the description,
Yes,
because it'll be there.
TheLoreWhores at TheLoreWhores. This is truth.
Excellent. At TheLoreWhores. Follow us on Twitter. But yeah, I think we should close it up, guys. I think we've done well this podcast. Although, talking about magic, there's a lot of theories going around. I'm sure we'll get some people coming into the comments and or sending us an email and telling us what they think about magic or how it works or their theories. Anyway, let's close it up, guys. Who wants to have some last words? Like, any last words, guys?
I do.
You've
Go
talked
for it.
enough.
Yeah.
I'm sorry.
Yours
Okay,
are so
fine.
sweet.
You're so mean. Anyway, though, those were the last words.
Well, that was beautiful. Closing off
Goodbye,
the,
everybody.
closing off the podcast.
Dear God.
Woo, fun.
This is never gonna end. I just want to go to sleep. I just want to go to sleep. Well, guys, that's the end of the show. Thank you very much for listening. As we said, if you like the show, subscribe, all that good stuff. Join us on Twitter, all that wonderful shit. Anyway, guys, thank you for listening, and remember...
It's time to conquer Earth!
Cacaw.
And cacaw.